Hi Homeworthy, I'm Sammy. Welcome to my apartment in Newport Beach. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Sammy Fox. I am an entrepreneur and owner of a boutique social media agency, and this is my 1,000 square foot apartment in Newport Beach, California. The story of this apartment is kind of funny. I was living at home in Newport Beach, and my boyfriend at the time and I decided that we finally wanted to move in together. And it was kind of like a year into COVID, and there was like nothing available. We stumbled upon this spot and toured it, and the day we toured it, we were headed out of town for a friend's wedding. By the time we were back home on Sunday from the wedding, we had already signed the lease and we're picking up the keys for the apartment the next day. It happened so quickly, it was kind of all a blur, and we moved in like 2 days later. And we've lived here now for 3 years and have never looked back. It's definitely been kind of an evolution. When we first moved in, we had this couch, which was a gift from my parents from their old house, and pretty much no other furniture. We were using like an old trunk that I had had in my college dorm as our coffee table for a long time. And as we've lived here now for a few years, it's been an evolution and a curation of different pieces to help decorate it and make it feel like home. Welcome to the main living space of my apartment. As you can see, we don't really have any kind of formal foyer, but I've tried to create some divisiveness. So when you enter, you have this little spot. I've created or added this table where I have different coffee table books I love, a photo from our recent wedding, and this is one of my favorite things. This is a bowl of matches that were custom done for our wedding that I love to give to our friends who come by. With the matches that we have from our wedding, we actually have down here, this is a wine chiller, but I have filled it with matches that we have collected together and separate from trips around the world, different hotels, restaurants. So we have Grand Hotel Tremezzo, the Ritz Paris. Let's see, this is from the bar at Ralph Lauren in Milan, Craig's in LA. It's just fun to collect things like that and get to look at them over the years. And again, if you ever need a match to light a candle, I have plenty. I'm never out. And I kind of used this couch as like a divider between the living room and the entryway to the apartment. Over here, we have our bar cart. This is obviously where the party gets started. And again, like I said earlier, I try to create a space that is filled with memories. So here is a bunch of stir sticks from one of our favorite hotels in Hawaii that my family has traveled to years over years. This is a silver bell from our wedding, which was what we gave out as favors to all of our guests. And then of course, the most important part, all the alcohol. So I am an Aperol Spritz or a Hugo Spritz girl. The whiskey and the vodka is much more for my husband. And we've loved to collect different glassware over the years. I love these beautiful blue wine glasses from Estelle. They just make me so happy. And blue is my favorite color. One of my favorite things on the bar cart down here is our champagne saber. So this was given to us as an engagement gift from a really good family friend. And it says, "May your home be a safe harbor for all who enter, and may you take time to celebrate your amazing love for each other." And then on the back, it says, "The best day ever and our wedding date." So this is just like a really fun memory from when we got engaged, but also such a conversation starter on our bar. People are always like, "Why do you have a sword?" And then I'm like, "Let's get a bottle of champagne and we can pop it together and I'll show you." And it's really fun. I would say the style of my apartment is kind of a mix of California coastal and a lot of traditional elements. Growing up, my mom decorated our home very traditionally, and so I've kind of taken a lot of influences from that and how I grew up and turned it into something that still feels youthful and fresh and very much me. We only live like 10 minutes away from the beach, and the ocean and the beach is one of my favorite things. It's a big inspiration for me, and my favorite color to decorate with is blue. So as you walk around the apartment, you'll see a lot of blue and white influences and things like that. But I'm inspired by so many different things, and that's what has really made it fun to decorate. One of my favorite things is to decorate with things that are meaningful. So souvenirs from trips, pieces from our wedding, things that mean stuff to us and you're not necessarily gonna find in other people's houses. Okay, now we are in the living room and I'm gonna start in one of my favorite little corners. So this table is such a funny story. This is actually a $80 desk I got off of Amazon, and then I covered it in seagrass wallpaper to make it look very Serena and Lily-esque for not a Serena and Lily price point. And again, blue is a big theme you're gonna see in my apartment. So there's the blue seagrass. This is the trunk that I was talking about that was our coffee table when we first moved in. It still serves its purpose here. And I just adore this candle holder. It's from a brand called Renee Fabricant, and it's made out of oyster shells, which is just so special and unique. Again, like I was saying, one of my favorite things to decorate with is things that are meaningful. So like this silver pitcher was given to us as a wedding gift from a really good family friend. And whenever I look at it, I think of both the family friends, but also our wedding and how special and magical of a time that was. Up here, this is definitely one of the art focal points in the apartment. It's a beautiful photograph from Grey Malin in Australia, and I just love it. It totally transports me when I look at it and brings me so much joy. This lamp is actually really funny. So I found this at a discount store. It's actually a Jonathan Adler lamp, and I was shocked when I found it. But it had this horrible gray lampshade on it that I hated, and I kind of lived with it for a while until finally I couldn't take it. And I found this darling scallop trimmed lampshade that I swapped it out for, and it was like, it looks like it was always meant to be there. You never had to change anything. One of the other things that's really special that I have over here is, like I said, this blue trunk has been with me since college, but this trunk up here is filled with all of our stationery, cards, and everything we got from our wedding. So the lock has our wedding date on it, and inside, again, is just overflowing with different mementos that we've wanted to save. I also love these blessing beads, which were a gift from my mother-in-law when we got engaged. And what you're supposed to do is display them in your home for good luck and well wishes. And so I just like to keep them out. Over the years, I've moved them around to different spots, but right now I feel like they work perfectly in this area. And again, when I see them, I think of her, and it's just good luck and good energy in the space. So this couch is what we had when we first moved in. It is the comfiest couch in the world. I know everybody loves the cloud couches and all these other like more modern looking, but again, I have traditional roots in my decor, so I love a polished, crisp looking couch, and there's nothing that looks more crisp than a white couch. It has extra deep cushions, which make it really comfortable to curl up on, and it's super durable, and we've had it for years. One of my favorite things in the apartment, though, has to be the coffee table. So, like I said, when we moved in, we had a couch, we had my old trunk as our coffee table, and finally for Christmas, my parents gifted me this coffee table. And I had been wanting it for a while, and it really was like, it was one of those moments where you don't realize how grateful you are for like a simple little thing in your life until you don't have one. Like when we finally had a true coffee table, it was like our whole world was transformed. So this is from Ballard Designs. It was a collaboration with Suzanne Kassler that they don't make anymore, unfortunately, but I just love the rattan detailing. I love how it is new, but it feels old, which is kind of what I've tried to do with a lot of the decor in our home. I also love this Janori Cashpo dish. Again, this was a wedding gift from a family friend, and it just is so beautiful. I have loved Janori China for years and years, and I didn't want to do their colorful collection as like our main china for the wedding because I wanted something simple that I knew I would never get tired of. But this is like a work of art. Over here is another really special piece. So this painting right here was actually painted during our wedding reception by a local artist named Timry, who I've admired her work for years. But what makes it so special is there are so many details in this that every time I look at it, I catch something new. So you have my husband and I during our first dance. I can see my parents sitting over here. The USC marching band playing, which is where I went to school, and they actually came to the wedding. We have our wedding cake. It's just filled with so many little details, and growing up, my mom always said, everything is in the details. Love is in the details. And so to me, to have all of them captured so beautifully in a piece that we get to display in our home and look at every single day is just so magical. My spot on the sofa is the one that is diagonally across from this painting, and that was definitely on purpose so that I could look at it all the time. So like I've been saying, you know, I have very expensive taste on not a very high budget. So it's all, my design philosophy is all about like, how can I maximize what I'm willing to spend and get like the best quality and achieve the looks I want. So whether that is covering an $80 desk from Amazon in wallpaper, or finding, you know, a spindle chair that has been a dream of mine to own for under $300. This chair was from Bed Bath & Beyond. And even though my husband didn't love having to put it together for me, it made me so happy once we finally got it. This lamp was a recent purchase that I made from Target, under $100, which I really pride myself on. But the stand has a really unique shape, which is what I love. I love how it's curved, and it just really completes this corner of our apartment. So growing up in LA, one of my favorite places to go for girls' lunches with my mom was always the Ivy in Beverly Hills. And the Ivy is known for their iconic pottery that they use for all their dishes, cups, and it's this hand-painted print that features leaves and flowers, and it's really iconic. And when I was in high school, I told my best friend, who was my maid of honor, that my dream was to one day have all Ivy dishes in my home. And so she, that year for my birthday, gave me a set of 4 of their coffee mugs, and over the years she's added to my collection. And so I love having this on display because while I don't live in LA anymore and I don't get to go to the Ivy that often, having this here makes it feel a little bit like I get to be there. And I love using it as a platter when people come over to put appetizers, and it just adds a really nice pop of color. One of the things that I think makes an apartment or a home really feel special is combining textures to add another layer of coziness to the space. So I have this jute rug, we have the rattan coffee table, the wicker tray. Those are all elements that help contribute to how the space feels. So while I am really drawn to a lot of whites and blues, adding in those materials and natural color help really ground the room and make it feel a little bit older and not so like stark and modern. Another way I do that is by adding in plants. So this is actually a fake tree that I got from Target, but again, it is in this beautiful wicker basket, and you honestly would never even know unless you looked close. But all of those little details put into different areas of the room are what tie it together and make it look cohesive instead of random. It would be really weird if I had all white and then one brown basket in the corner. People would be like, well, that doesn't really work. But when you tie it in by incorporating it in different areas, it all works and flows really nicely together. So when I was 15 years old, I started a blog, which I feel like now nobody even has a blog, but I was homesick from school and I decided I was going to start a fashion and lifestyle blog. So I spent like a few days trying to think of names. I came up with the word preptista, which is a mix between the word prepster and fashionista, which really kind of were what I identified as. And I'm still doing the blog and social media on that account to this day. It's been almost 12 years now, which is so crazy to think. When I graduated from high school, I went to USC and studied business and communication design, which I felt like was a very natural fit into what I was already doing and what I knew I wanted to do. I graduated and I got a job, which was my dream job at the time, working for a photographer named Gray Malin. And I helped him with his social media, I ran his blog, and eventually I was doing production on his photo shoots. And that was so much fun, and I learned so many amazing things that still follow me to this day. 3 years ago, when my family moved down to Orange County and I was still living at home at the time, I knew that it was either time for me to figure out how I could do my job in LA from Orange County or time to start doing something new. And I was really inspired and excited about the prospect of doing social media for my own clients. So I made the really difficult decision to leave my job, which again, it was my dream job. That was so hard. And I started pursuing clients in the Orange County area. And so now I work with tons of small businesses in a variety of industries, from restaurants to landscapers, real estate, small home boutiques, all different industries, helping them with their social media. And then in addition to that, I still run and manage my blog and social media as well, where I share recipes, entertaining tips, style tips, the works. So now we're gonna move from the living room into the dining room, which again, I feel like I'm gonna say every room in this house is my favorite, but this is one of my favorite spots. It's tiny but mighty, and it gets a lot of action because I love hosting and entertaining and having friends over. So whether I'm sitting here having dinner with my husband or a couple friends, or I've covered this table in appetizers for a cocktail party or holiday party, this really is an anchor into our whole living space. Over here is our cake stand, which I always keep some kind of baked good in. My husband loves that, and he literally said to me like a week ago, he's like, I always love that there's some kind of treat I can take a bite of when I walk by. Over here, this is a Mackenzie Childs recipe box, and I have loved Mackenzie Childs for years and years and years. And this was actually the first Christmas gift that my husband ever gave me when we were dating. I had told my mom that my dream was to have a recipe box one day that I could fill with my own recipes and family recipes and recipes that I loved from the internet and other cookbooks that I could, take with me wherever I lived. And one day my kids would be able to like rifle through this and make all the recipes that I made for them. So my mom told him about that and told him that this was the recipe box I wanted. And so he surprised me with it, and now it has been with us ever since, and I love filling it up. So one of my favorite recipes, or I would maybe say is my most famous recipe, is my chocolate chip cookies, which I took from a recipe I found on the internet and kind of elaborated on my own. But the funny story about it is when we moved in here, I made chocolate chip cookies for all of our neighbors as just kind of a, try to get to know people, gave them our phone number so that we had a community around us. And one of the tenants in our unit is our landlord's mother-in-law. And she loved the cookies so much that she hired me to make like 350 cookies to gift to all of her friends and family for that holiday season. So out of my tiny kitchen, I was making cookies, and I never made any in that quantity, but they really are that good. The secret is a little bit of oat flour mixed in with the regular flour. You just grind up some oats in the blender, and that helps give it like an oatmeal cookie flavor, but you get all the other good parts of a real chocolate chip cookie. As I mentioned, one of my favorite things is hosting, and I think I was in a little bit of denial about how small our space was when we were registering for gifts for our wedding. So after we got married, we brought all our gifts that had been stored at my parents' house home, and I realized like, oh my God, I have no idea where to put all of this stuff. I didn't have enough storage. So I found this sideboard that I actually purchased off of Amazon, and my husband put it together for me, and he loves to tell everybody that it had 209 screws that he had to use to put it together. But one of the things which I will also show you I did upstairs, one trick that I love to use to make a piece of furniture feel more unique is swapping out the hardware. So when I ordered this, it came with these like black knobs on it that were just really not my look. And I found these really cute clover, gold, and like pearl looking knobs that I swapped out, and all of a sudden it was like a completely different piece of furniture. So there's really a lot of easy ways to make something that's, not as luxurious feel or look like it is more luxurious, and switching out hardware and knobs is one of my favorite ways to do that. Should we take a look inside and see if there's any fun pieces from our wedding I can show you? This pair of vases that is from Juliska, and they're the most beautiful blue and white blown glass. It kind of has like a speckled look to it. And while I don't have a huge table now, my dream is that one day I would have like a long table and I'd be able to put these down it and fill it with flowers and candles and have a really beautiful candlelit dinner. I also love this beautiful wooden salad bowl that was, again, another wedding gift. When we got this, my husband was like, all I want to do is make like a really good homemade Caesar salad to put in that. I feel like you always think of like classic restaurants with the tableside Caesar in a big wooden bowl, and this is exactly the kind of bowl that you would use for something like that. So I love this, and it's just so gorgeous. These green glasses are so fun, and these were gifted to me by a friend at one of my bridal showers, but I love the pop of green. For me, it's really unexpected. I'm typically neutrals, blue and white, but there was something about this green color that I just could not get out of my head, and I've used them so many times, and they're plastic, which is so nice because you don't have to worry about people dropping them. But if you look close, they have like a really nice texture, and it almost looks like there's bubbles within the plastic. So they're just really fun and unique and add an unexpected pop of color to a tablescape. The best compliment that somebody can give me about my home is that when they walk in, they feel like they're home. I want my friends and family to feel like they can take their shoes off, kick their feet up, and be totally relaxed and at ease, and not feel like, oh, I don't want to spill anything on the couch. Like, this home is meant to be lived in, and so I want people to feel that way. So since I am usually the one hosting and doing the cooking, this is my seat at the dining room table so that I have easy access to the rest of the kitchen. So this is our cute little kitchen space. It's small, but it gets the job done, and a lot of things get made here. I have recently been on a sourdough bread kick, so I actually baked a fresh loaf for you guys so that I can show you, but I have been baking up a storm of sourdough bread, and it's so fun and delicious. It's like, why even need to buy bread anymore when you could just get it homemade, fresh right out of the oven? This is another picture from that same pottery collection from the ivy that I was telling you about. So I love to have it scattered about my apartment in different spaces. Again, because we have kind of an open floor plan, having that consistency, like this pot here and the platter in our living room, it makes the space feel really cohesive. I am a collector of many things, and one of those is Nora Fleming little charms. I don't know if charm is what she would call them, but I call them charms. And they have them for all different seasons and occasions. So these are pumpkins for fall, but she has an amazing collection of different hosting pieces and kitchenware pieces that you can swap all the little charms out for the seasons and move them about. So this is our paper towel holder, and I have our little pumpkins, but in a couple months I'll change them out for Christmas, and it's gonna be so good. This spot is like the prime location of the kitchen whenever there's fresh sourdough. I have a few of my favorite cookbooks on display. The French Chef Cookbook was a gift. It's by Julia Child, and I just absolutely adore it. And then this one is called Dinner in French, which is filled with, again, French recipes. France is my favorite place in the world. I actually got engaged in Paris, so it means a lot to both my husband and I. This is a really funny piece. So I get questions about this art all the time from people. This is actually a dish towel that I bought at a restaurant in Texas called Rise Souffle. So they are known for having all different types of souffles on the menu, savory ones, sweet ones, and then a monthly one that rotates. So I was on a trip in Texas with my mom, and we went there for lunch, and they sell their towels, and they have a collection of tons of different designs, and these towels are what they actually use as the napkins for all the people who are eating there. So everybody has mismatched ones. It's really fun and interesting. When we were leaving, I was like, well, I want a souvenir from here. So I looked at the collection of towels, and I fell in love with this one. It says, if dessert is the question, souffle is the answer. And I just think it's so playful and fun, and again, really unique. Like, people ask me all the time where I got it, and I wish I could like send them the link to get it themselves, but there's something about one-of-a-kind pieces like that that are just so special. Like I said, I'm a collector, so these magnets, you're probably wondering, in airports you see like cheesy magnets, you're like, who buys those things? My husband and I do. When we started dating, we had a rule that we were gonna buy magnets on every trip we went to, and we've forgotten some along the way, so this isn't everything, but it is fun. It's a little kitschy and it doesn't really go with the rest of the apartment, but it's a fun little quirky thing, and I like that it adds personality and again gives us lots of memories from all our travels together. This plate above the sink was another gift that we got. It was from my mother-in-law at one of my bridal showers, and it's hand painted by an artist named Trisha Lowenfeld. And it says the Foxes, and it has a bride and groom, and it's just a little memento from our wedding. And it's just, it has so much personality. Again, it's in my favorite colors, blue and white, and I love how it feels old and traditional, but it's a new piece that means something special to us. So growing up, baking was my favorite thing. I actually used to dream of owning a cake shop. This was kind of at the day of like Cupcake Wars on TV, and Georgetown cupcakes was like all the rage. So my mom bought me my first KitchenAid, which is not this one anymore. I have upgraded. It was bright pink, and that didn't really go with my adult life. But this beautiful blue KitchenAid is from their anniversary collection. And again, it still gets so much use. I use it at least weekly for different baking recipes or things I'm making. And I just love the color. I love the blue color. I love the white bowl with the polka dots. Just everything about it is so special. This is a hand-painted olive oil canister that I, again, got as a wedding gift off of our registry on Over the Moon. It's by a brand called Vaisselle. And while it's a little bit different than the rest of the decor, because the colors match with everything else, it doesn't feel quite as random. And I love how it's just like an unexpected little pop. And of course, if you're gonna be cooking, you have to have salt at the ready. So I have nice flaky sea salt to top all of my dishes with, and it's the best. If you're looking for good salt, you want the Malden sea salt. It's so good, you will never look back. The last thing in the kitchen, and if you ask my husband, it's the most important, is the coffee and tea station. So I am solely a tea girl. I'm not a coffee drinker. I love matchas, I love tea, but my husband is a coffee connoisseur, if you will. So when it came to registering for a coffee maker or a tea kettle, like you can't pick, so we had to do both. And of course, they're both matching in the classic white smeg. I love smeg items because they look so retro and have a lot of personality, and they're just fun. It's like, who wants just a boring, ugly coffee maker when you can have something so cute? When we first fell in love with the apartment, I mean, of course I loved it because, like I said, there wasn't that much available on the market at the time. But what really made me fall in love with it was the natural light. There's so much natural light in this apartment. And on top of that, because it was a blank slate, I knew I really could do whatever I wanted with it to make it feel homey. I would say in terms of the rooms, I really love our living room, and that's been a labor of love. There's a lot of different things that I've collected over time, you know, especially coming from, knowing when we first moved in, we had a couch and a trunk as a coffee table, to now seeing what it's become today. It just really feels so homey. And I love our bedroom. Our bedroom is really light and airy. And again, it's just, what I love most about our apartment is that when I walk in, it feels like I'm home. Okay, coming out of the main living space, we have our tiny, tiny little powder bath, but it's still really cute. We have our monogram towels from Wheezy Towels, which Wheezy is my favorite towel brand in the whole world. I absolutely adore them. And a beautiful photograph by Gray Malin from one of our favorite hotels ever, the Mauna Kea in Hawaii. And I love that, like, even though it's small, I've made it feel a little bit like an escape. The tissue boxes, which are a little nod to the tropical vibes of Hawaii. Again, it's tiny, but it does the job, and it's cute, if I do say so myself. Okay, now I'm gonna take you upstairs. Come on. So when you first come up the stairs, you will find our bedroom. And I have tried to make a space that feels really tranquil and calm. So it's not a lot of colors, blues, whites, neutrals, something that feels really relaxing. We just upgraded our bed to a king size bed, which I don't know what took us so long. It is the best upgrade ever. This headboard is from One Kings Lane, which I love. And it's like a oatmeal neutrally color. And at first when I ordered it, I was a little bit like off-put, worried that it would look weird with the whites, but I think it really makes the space feel really natural. And the more I thought about it, if it was just like a stark white headboard, it would have looked so weird. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. These nightstands are from Pottery Barn. I actually had one of these in my room growing up, and when we moved in, brought the one nightstand with us. We were using it as a side table in our living room for just a little bit, and then we finally bought a second one to match. But I'm gonna show you a little thing. So like I mentioned downstairs, I love swapping out hardware on pieces when I don't love what comes with it. So I did not love the hardware that came on this Pottery Barn nightstand. So I ordered these little bamboo gold knobs off of Amazon, and they totally made it look different. Because we live in an apartment, I'm always looking for ways to optimize our storage, because apartment living is notorious for not having a lot of storage space. So these are open bottom nightstands, but I put in these like jute wicker baskets that I found at the Container Store. And so I can just tell my husband, like, throw all your stuff in there. You don't need to leave it out. Nobody needs to see it. And it works perfect. When we decided to upgrade to the bed, I was so excited to pick out new bedding and really do something that felt special. I love like a big fluffy bed that feels like you're getting into a cloud. These Euro shams are from Serena and Lily, and so is our duvet cover, and they have a beautiful scallop edge. But the funny thing is, I ordered these, it was like 2 months ago that I got the pillow covers, and I was showing them to my mom, and I was like, I bought this beautiful blue and white pattern. I loved it so much. And she was like, oh my God, Sammy, you've loved that pattern for years. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, well, a few years ago we were doing like home tours, and there was wallpaper, and it was the exact same pattern that I ended up buying on these pillows years later, and I didn't even remember. So that's kind of a silly little coincidence, but it made me fall in love with them even more, because I was like, okay, it's not just a phase. I really have loved this pattern for such a long time. When we first moved into this apartment, we did not have a rug in this room, and I did not realize what big of a difference having a rug makes. So we added the rug. This was, like 6 months ago, before we had the bed upgrade. But it really helped like anchor the room. So nothing in the layout changed, but we added the rug, and all of a sudden it felt like it wasn't an empty space with a bed in it. It was actually like a well-designed, thoughtful room and space. Over here, this dresser, again, so many things that have been handed down to us over the years that we've tried to transform and make our own. So this dresser was actually a black dresser that my husband's roommate that he lived with before we moved in together had in his room and was getting rid of, and so he gave it to us. We bought blue paint from Home Depot, Lowe's, something like that, and I painted it blue, and then I did the same gold bamboo knobs that I put on the nightstands to make it look like it fit with the rest of the furniture. And it just like, the blue totally transformed it. And I was a little worried about having like this dark blue piece of furniture and how it would make the room feel. But I really like that it adds a lot of depth to the space and contrast and feels really thoughtful. In our room, I have tried to fill it with things that really feel like just him and I, just my husband and I. So I have wedding photos on display. But then this up here is a beautiful print watercolor painting of the church that we got married at on Balboa Island in California. So on Balboa Island, there's this place called the Balboa Island Museum, and my mom was in there looking just for stopping in. They have like a little gift shop to see if there was anything cute. And she found this painting, and she was like, oh my God, I need to get this for Sammy, because at the time we had already decided that that's where the wedding was going to be. So she had them frame it, and she gave it to me at one of my showers, and I had never seen it before. And when I opened it, I literally started crying because it was so unexpected and so beautiful. And it's just, again, filling your home with beautiful memories from your life, whether it's your wedding or one certain moment or a lifetime full of moments. I'm excited for how over the years our home is going to change and evolve and continue to be filled with different memories. So our photos may get swapped out from wedding photos to photos of our children or us with our children, or this might one day move into a different room and something else will go there. But you constantly are evolving a space and filling it with things that are meaningful, and that's what's really important. So if you come this way, this is our little hallway. It's not, the prettiest spot, but this is one of the most special things we have in our apartment. So when we got married, we were going back and forth on what we wanted to do as like a guest book. And one of the ideas I had was to take a coffee table book that we loved and have our friends sign on the pages. But my parents did this at their wedding and I thought I wanted to copy it. So we took one of our engagement photos. I had it custom matted with an extra wide mat. And our calligrapher who did the calligraphy on our invitations wrote our wedding date and they wrote best day ever. And at our cocktail hour, we had this out on display with pens for all of our guests to sign it. And now we have this beautiful piece of art that's filled with well wishes and the names of all the people who mean so much to us. And it's so fun and wonderful to get to look at every day when we walk through this hallway. And then the hallway, of course, leads into our little bathroom. So again, the Wheezy towels, you'll see, I had these downstairs, I have them up here too. This is their like applique monogramming, which I just adore. I think it is so beautiful and pops so nicely on the white towels. And we have the matching hand towel over here. And then to continue with the blue and white trend, this is a shower curtain I got from Serena and Lily, and I just loved how fun these blue tassels were, and they worked perfectly with the towels. So it just adds texture, it adds dimension, and I love mixing different things together to make a space that feels really cohesive and comfortable. And I want my home to feel lived in. It's not gonna look perfect all the time. This is probably the best it's gonna get unless I do something drastic. Having a home that feels lived in is the most important thing to me, so. The word home is really interesting because obviously it can refer to the place that you live, but to me it's really more about the people that are there and how the space makes you feel. So like I said, you know, I've tried to fill our home with things that remind us of special trips and occasions and things that bring back warm, happy memories from our life, so that I know that if we picked up and moved, it would still feel like home the next day. But ultimately, home is not about where you live. It's about the people that are there. And there's nothing that makes me happier than cooking dinner and having something on the stove and having my husband come home from work and getting to just sit on the couch together and either read or watch TV together and spend quality time together in our favorite place. Homeworthy, it's been so much fun having you here, and I'm so glad I got to show you around, but it's time for you to go and for me to get on with the day. So I'll see you later. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.